All right, hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am back with some live Wargaming in miniature. All right, so we have. I should be streaming, just double checking everything. Um, I'm working currently. Okay, I can see where this might be in the way. There we go. Currently working on some Germans right here for a Meg. I'm going to base them up for Meg, but I'm going to use a Warlord Games campaign book, Caesar, Age of Caesar. This is actually more figures than would be allowed in a. Actually, this isn't. This is actually somewhere close to 8,000 points. But again, I'm not going by points. I'm building up units that would be used in the scenarios in that book. Even though I think after kind of evaluating the points and the way Meg is written a little bit differently than Hail Caesar, and that a lot differently, and that units have different potentials, I think it would be better to instead of strictly stick to the scenarios, I think it would be advantageous to kind of muddle around with it a little bit. Maybe base it on points, maybe not. So yeah. So but as we speak right now, I'm making Meg tugs equal to, in numbers, units in Hail Caesar. I know that's probably concept-wise, I think that is inaccurate. In that my understanding, now I could be wrong because I can always adjust the scale, which is what I'm doing. But I understand that the expected tug in Meg would actually be a legion and not a cohort. In Hail Caesar, a unit is a cohort. So, as an example, in Hail Caesar, the 10th Legion, Caesar's Legion, is 2 Principe units and 2 Hastati units, and 1 Triarii unit. And I do believe some skirmishers like Velites, they would have, they call them javelinmen as skirmishers. And, okay, and that's kind of what I'm building this Meg army to be. But I feel, based on kind of the way I'm reading the rules and reading the army lists, it's that each tug is a legion, and basically each base is a cohort. So because the legions in Meg are like 4 bases, right? It says legions, 4 bases. You may add a 5th base, Triari unit. So those 5 bases would be exactly the same as what you see in the cohorts in Hail Caesar. But that means I would have on the table a total of 3 tugs for most of the scenarios. Maybe 4 if you count the skirmishers. And that just doesn't seem like a worthwhile challenge of a battle. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of just elaborating and saying that each tug is a cohort. So I'll have actually, that's not true. In Hail Caesar, okay, let me back up just a little bit. In Hail Caesar, it does say each of the cohorts are legionaries. I put the Principe Hastati verbiage in there when there's actually no Principe Hastati. They're just legionaries because it's after the Marian reforms. So what that means is we're going to get 5 tugs in each in the 3 different legions, basically. That was my wife. She's it's a beautiful day outside, so she is having a yard sale. Everything must go. Because she said if it doesn't sell today, she's going to take it down to Goodwill or somewhere and donate it. Yeah, so basically I'm just taking the Meg units and equivalent and getting the equivalents unit numbers in the Hail Caesar campaign, which means that it's not abiding by the army builder. All right, so we got the sky blue on there. I've already done all these. I started before I turned the camera on. I did order some Blue Moon miniatures. I ordered some Caesarian Romans, some like late Republicans. I also ordered some French 100 Years' War, English 100 Years' War, and yeah, mainly just French and English 100 Years' War. Basically filling gaps in, because I have an English 100 Years' War starter army, and it's kind of it's not built to the Meg standards. It's built to Field of Glory. And it's also just a starter army. It doesn't have, everything you need. I also ordered some French personalities and English personalities. That was all from Blue Moon, which I'm not really sure how good the quality of the figures are. So I didn't want to order too much, but I did order some legionaries, some Marian late Roman legionaries. So we'll see how that goes. I think I ordered a Swiss pikeman as well, because I think I want to kind of start a Swiss pike army, not immediately, but to go up against my Burgundians, which my Burgundians are way behind the power curve as well, so I don't have any of those armies started. Okay, so I've got a color called Boulder. I've got Scorn Red, which is kind of a really deep red. And then I've got this light green. I'm doing everything in my power, except that sky blue. Everything else I want to be earthy tones. I thought about like a really dark blue as well, but I'm resisting the urge to put a dark blue on there or a dark green. I want to reserve those colors for like a Gaelic army. Even though these Germans and the Gauls pretty much are exactly the same. I mean, army composition changes a little bit, maybe some chariots here and there, but pretty much they're exactly the same. Light green. Okay, we're going to go light green. Now, I thought about sky green, which they're very close. One's AK, one's Vallejo. But this has got a little bit more, I don't know how to say it, maybe blue in it than this does. This has got a little bit more yellow in it. Blue and yellow make green. But yeah, this looks like it's lighter. That one looks a little darker because that blue makes it a lot darker. But I'm definitely not using a green like that. That's like German camouflage. Okay, wait, we got some chats going on here. Hang on. Let me switch my glasses out. We got Wardrobe Plays World War II saying that's a lot of troops. It is. I counted them. It's close to 275 miniatures on the table right now. That's right. 275. And he says the colors look cool as the backdrop. Well, thanks. Yeah, I've also got this spinner over here that you can't really see, but okay, so let's get back into this. Let me take my reading glasses off and put my miniature painting glasses off. That's why sometimes I'll miss the chat. Remember, if you do chat like you just did, I am focusing on painting first and reading chat second. Wardrobe also says, what's the scale? 15 millimeter. This is 15 millimeter. These are 6-inch sticks with 8 figures on a stick, approximately. There's like 1 or 2 sticks that have less. Well, the cavalry, obviously. But like this infantry just has 6. And there's another... Yeah, all the other infantry have 8. Yeah, that one's got 6 because it didn't work out to a full stick. And then these are 12 cavalry for 1 cavalry unit. And these are 8 general types that I plan to put on general bases. Okay, reading glasses off, painting glasses on. The shaking should be over with. Now, there's not enough. Okay, how am I going to say this? I'm randomizing like what gets painted. There's like dark gray, which is a bolder color. Actually, it's actually a folk art bolder color. And then there's going to be light gray, which is right there. No, wait, this is bolder. What the hell is that? Oh, that's ash. That's right. Okay, this light green looks really good. Again, I primed it with camouflage brown. This is a brown primer. Krylon camouflage brown. And then I went over it because that's a spray paint, and inevitably spray paints on primers, figure base coats or whatever, they don't get into all the nooks and crannies. And so I went back over it with burnt umber. Burnt umber is just a little, if not exactly, but it's like just maybe a shade lighter than the camouflage brown. So it really brought the details out. And I'm only going to do 1 figure per stick with the light green. And I'm going to mostly focus on jackets, tunics, or whatever you call it. With the light green. But yeah, and then I went with a light brown. What color is it? Hold on. Monster brown. Monster brown for a lot of the jackets and pants. In addition to the monster brown, I also did a green gray, which is kind of like a U.S. World War II paratrooper color. you know, D-Day uniform color. Uh, that and the Monster Brown are very similar. So I almost didn't need to do two different shades. I started with the green gray and I felt like it was just a little bit too, I don't know, just too, I don't know, dirty. So I changed to the Monster Brown, and I actually prefer the Monster Brown. But about half the figures already had the green gray. And when I painted those, I usually did like 2 jackets and 3 pants. And of course, I'm randomizing what I'm painting because I don't want, I mean, it doesn't have to be consistent. Like, not everybody's wearing a green shirt, not everybody's wearing brown pants. It's kind of a variety. And I'm staying with earthy tones because these are Germans. If I was painting them as Celts, I would go with brighter colors. Or not Celts, Gauls. I'd be going with slightly brighter colors. Not very much brighter, but just a little bit. Before we move on to the guys with chainmail, there's like 2 units with chainmail. Some of the figures, some of the molds, look like the guys have greaves on, you know, like an old Roman greave. So I wanted to see if the Germans wore those or not. Because if not, I'll just paint over them. Or mainly what I wanted to see is, are they bronze or are they iron? That's the main thing I wanted to see. If all else fails, I can just paint them bronze and it'll still look okay. The armor, the mail is obviously going to be metal, steel, iron, oily iron probably. Not like a gunmetal, but also not as bright as a natural steel. I think oily steel will look really good. But we'll find out. When I pulled all these figures out, not only that, when I ordered these figures last year, I did the math at the time to figure out how many figures I needed, and I calculated, and it's really, I did a good job calculating, but unfortunately, I forgot that I already had 2 units finished. I had 2 units of Germans already on the shelf. And so basically I got a few extra figures more than I need. It's not a bad thing because I might be able to turn it around and sell it. And the generals, I'm kind of okay. I've been kind of avoiding them, and I was going to come back to them afterwards. But I think this guy deserves a green cape. I already did the horses. And I did those in 3 different shades. Got like a grayish color, a darker brown, and a redder brown. So Oh, this cape like hangs down to his belly button. I think of him kind of like a druid because he's got this bull's head on a staff, and at the top of the staff it's got a skull. So I don't know, it just looks druidic. Now, if there's a little bit of dead air, just bear with me because my mind is thinking about painting and not talking. I'm limited in that regards. I do expect a shipment in today from Wargames Atlantic. This order was placed in April. That's right, I said it. April. And I paid like quite a bit for this order. And then, yeah, I think I'll do one of these guys too. I'm trying to avoid the cavalry as well, because I was going to come back and do them afterwards. But this light green just looks too good. Not painting the shields. Using little big men decals. So when I get ready to do the shields, I'll be painting the shields white. Because little big men decals are transparent. And they're colored. So when you put them on top of, I don't know, brown, the decal will disappear. The brown will destroy the decal. So, but if you put it on top of white, you'll be able to see all the colors. And the symbols and all that stuff. And all that jazz. Okay, I don't think I pulled enough of this light green out. I might have to mix some more. So I've got an Old Glory order out as well. With a bunch of one-offs. A ton of ancients as well. But like one bag of this, one bag of that. So it's kind of like just filler. When I was shopping around, because I was like just seeing what some of the other brands have and stuff like that, I went to Forged in Battle because I like all their like World War II figures and stuff. And I was looking at their ancients. And I said, you know, they've got personalities, generals, or a command pack, or whatever that thing's called. So I looked at the German one. It's those guys right there. Because I looked at it and I was like, wait a second, did I already order this? Because those guys are exactly what I've got on the popsicle stick over there. What really stood out was that standard bearer with the bull's head. The druid figure looking guy. I was like, oh, I must have ordered this the last time I put an order in. So yes, guys, I'm going senile. I'm starting to forget what I've ordered, what I have. So going forward, I'm not relying on my memory. I actually pull the figures out. I look in my tub to see exactly what I've got. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have these Swiss pikemen. Let me go ahead and order these. I hear scraping like someone's like um, shoveling snow or something. But I know that's not what they're doing. I heard a jackhammer this morning, so maybe they're shoveling up the residue, whatever they were jackhammering. The guy, my neighbor, um, has been doing a lot of yard work lately, but not him. He's been bringing in professionals. Um, he brought this one group of guys in that were cutting his trees down. Um, Mainly, he had like 4 or 5 trees in his backyard, and we had a pretty severe thunderstorm a few months back. But one of the trees broke, and a branch fell and crushed the fence between yards. But if it fell on the house, it could have easily destroyed the roof of the house. So he, thinking ahead, decided to cut that tree or 2 trees down so that there would be no risk. I am using this #1 Vallejo synthetic. Uh, it's doing really well for me. I'm digging it. Okay, I've got some club crackers here, mainly just to settle my stomach. What the Hades? Okay. It didn't feel like there was a lot of water, but okay. When I went to paint, it started to run. Like, what the heck? It just wasn't stirred up, and the water left over in the brush from when I washed it over here was still on the brush, so I just had to resolve that issue, and now it's going on just fine. So I've got a Russian Napoleonic army that I'm currently in the middle of painting. Um, these Germans are kind of like, well, this is my personal group, not commission or whatever. And but every now and then, I'll be working on my commission, and then I'll just have to put it off to the side and take a break from it. I try to do like one color a day because it is a huge undertaking as well. 28 millimeter Russian Napoleonics, and there's about 180 of those. I've been painting like smaller things on them, and it takes forever. Only because there's so many, not because it's hard. And then I decided the last coat that I put on them was their green jackets, right? So I painted their green jackets, and now they almost look like an army. Almost. It's still going to take me a week or two to finish those, especially if I keep taking breaks like this. But I just can't resist. I got to paint these Germans. I want to get them out of the way. As you already know, I am doing a Meg boot camp. And I'm up to chapter 8, I think, which is playing a turn, which it's not actually playing the game, but it goes over like what you do in each turn, how to draw cards, how to move the figures, how to roll the dice, and all that. Basically gives like a general overview of what you can expect in a game turn. And I'm suspecting, I could be wrong, but I'm suspecting I need some units to put on the table. I have Romans already. I have those 2 units of Germans. I've got 3 units of Italian. I painted those Italians as Roman allies, but I'll never use them as such. They just came with the starter army, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just paint them up. I mean, I might use them. I could use them. And I kind of decided that I'm painting the wrong army, the Roman army. I'm painting the mid-Republicans, which is not the Marian late Republicans. Yes, I can use the Principes as legionaries because they're almost exactly the same look. But I was also noticing that the mid-Republicans fight in close order, and the late Republicans are flexible. Which means I can't just take a 1-for-1 principes, like pick 4 principes and say, okay, this is a Marian legion, because they're not based correctly. And I'm going to throw another wrench into the mix. They're based incorrectly. I've got them all based on 15 millimeter Field of Glory bases. And instead of rebasing them, which I'm going to do eventually at some point, but instead of rebasing them, I should just get some Marian Romans and just paint them up as flexibles like they're supposed to be, or I should say paint them up and then base them up like flexibles, and then I'd have the right army. And that was one of the reasons why I ordered some Marian Romans from Blue Moon. That's what I was going to do. I'm just going to rebase them. Not rebase them. I'm going to paint them and then base them up as flexibles like they're supposed to be. Basically, I'm just going to do it right. Instead of cutting corners or trying to be special, I was basically trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I was saying I could do a mid-Republican Roman army, which I really like the looks of. And I says, I want to do a mid-Republican Roman army, to go against Hannibal and the Carthaginians and stuff. But then I can also use them as Caesarian or Marian Romans as well, because, they're Romans. No. I regret trying to cut corners now, looking back on it. Well, I'll have 2 armies, though. I'll have a mid-Republican Roman army and a Marian Republican Roman army. They can't fight against each other unless I use them as proxies, because Rome did fight against itself, but it was after Caesar came back and crossed the Rubicon. And I heard last night, actually, that was the first time that Pompey has ever lost a battle. Yeah, I discovered a YouTube channel that I didn't know existed, that I thought had a really good video series. It was myth busting Roman combat tactics or something like that. See, this color is going pretty quick. I'm flying through it. What did I do? I counted like a number of popsicle sticks. I think I've got 30 popsicle sticks. So if I'm only doing one figure per popsicle stick, that's only 30 figures. Actually, well, it's not less. It is less because I didn't do every cavalry stick. And when I get to those 3 javelin units, there's not many jackets or tunics. They're almost all bare-chested. So we'll take a look at that. Okay. And the chainmail guys, there's only a little bit of exposed sleeve. Very little. Got his elbow here and his elbow behind his shield. And then there's a little bit of fabric sticking out from underneath the mail. But luckily I haven't painted the mail yet, so I don't have to be too accurate. Because when I paint the mail, I'll paint over all that stuff I overlapped. Now on these guys, because they're not, these guys actually have pants on. I'm going to paint one of these pants the light green. I thought about painting some of their pants light green. But I don't want to overwhelm the miniatures with light green. Like when you look down at this, you can definitely see that light blue. It's like boom, it stands out like a slap in the face. And I didn't want the light green to do that as much. So, whoops. What? Painted the wrong leg? Okay, crap. It's alright. I can just paint over that when I change colors. I'm using Vallejo medium flesh. I looked at the barbarian flesh from Army Painter, and I looked at flat flesh. I think medium flesh is the right darkness and lightness. It's a Vallejo color. I have like light flesh and tanned flesh and elven and centaur, and I've got all kinds of flesh colors. And I pick and choose based on whatever my mood is. Like, if I think they should have a big tan, like maybe Italians, I might do a tanned flesh. The British, I might use elven flesh. Probably not. But barbarian flesh is too red. I don't know. There's something about it. It just doesn't. It just didn't look right. Yeah. So if I'm looking for like an olive skin, I don't want it to be barbarian flesh. But these guys are Germanic, so I would think they'd have lighter skin. You know, the Aryan race and all that. I think they would have a lot of lighter skin tone. Cold winters and all that. But they can have tans as well. It's just, you know, especially the bare chested guys. So I have no desire to paint up any British, you know, like Boudica or any of those guys. But a Celt is pretty much a Celt. So, because they're almost all exactly the same. So I could just field them as British, just say, okay, these guys are British and this is what the differences are. Like I would only need to get like maybe a chariot or two or something like that. I really wanted to do the 100 Years' War miniatures, the English and the French, but um, but I'm okay on holding off on that to finish up the I don't know, ancient period maybe. Some Carthaginians, maybe some Macedonians. I don't know if I told anybody, or if I did, I don't know if you remember, but I was deployed to Macedonia when I was in the service. Um, didn't get to see much of the people. Um, I did go out a couple of times off base, but whenever we went off base, we had a chaperone because when I was there, I was in the UN. I was a UN observer. And I think the powers that be were afraid that we would get into a diplomatic incident or be the victim of an international incident. So we always had like an escort, which basically puts a big crimp on what you can do in a foreign country. You can only go to the approved sites. Being the kind of person that I am, I can tell you that I did look for some hobby shops. Trains, you know, train shops or any kind of hobby. You know, just because they're Macedonians doesn't mean they don't have hobbies. So I went looking. I found something. If I remember right, I found a shop in an alleyway. It wasn't a game store. I remember it did. They didn't sell like miniatures and games and stuff, but they did have model kits. You know, paint, glue, that kind of stuff. I didn't buy anything because I was hoping to find, so I don't know, whatever I found I didn't need. Because I remember when I went, I was really big into Command Decision and Napoleon's battles. I played Command Decision in 1/72nd, and I played Napoleon's battles in 15 millimeter. Those are the two games that I was really into at that time. And if they didn't have something that would support either of those hobbies, I wouldn't have bought anything. I don't know if you've seen me wearing a Games Workshop sweatshirt on the channel, because I'll wear it every now and then. But I've got this Games Workshop sweatshirt that I got when I was in Macedonia. It was mail order. It came in the mail. But I remember that. I was excited to get it. Okay, so that's the light green. I don't want to do any more light green unless maybe I do some generals or something. That need it. We are going to do Scorn Red next. And I'm also going to try to focus on jackets or tunics. And if they're already done, like if I've done all the jackets of a stick, then I'll do the pants. But only one clothing item is going to have red. And it's also a very dark red. And then I'm going to come back later with Boulder and hit everything else. So Boulder is going to be all the jackets and pants that I have not touched. Actually, red, I think I'm going to do two items, a top and a bottom. I think that's right, top and a bottom, if I can. So anybody out there play Meg? Anybody out there play Ancients in any rule set? Got desktop audio turned on. I'm going to turn that off. For some reason it was on. Okay. I'm curious to know what you guys are playing when it comes to Ancients. Are you playing Field of Glory? Are you playing Armati? Because I used to play Armati. Are you playing... okay, so I played something before Armati. I'm trying to remember what I played. It might have been... I never really got into DBA or DBM. I never really got into those. But there were some ancient rules that I played. I don't remember what it was. But when Armati came out, or when I discovered Armati, I switched all my armies over to Armati. And believe it or not, I was playing in 1/72nd. That was a big thing of mine back in the day. When I was a young stud, 1/72nd was a big portion of my armies because of the value. The you know, At the time, maybe $5 for 50 models. It's pretty good. 10 cents a model. And 1/72 is almost 25s. It's actually 20, but it looked good on the table. I played a whole game of Waterloo in 1/72. Then I switched to 15s, realizing that 1/72 was just way too big for that kind of a game. Napoleon's battles. Okay, so we're gonna fudge this a little bit. There we go. And what did I say? A top and a bottom? And all remaining capes. So if I come upon any capes, it's going to be this color. Because I'm not going to use the boulder on any of the capes. I already know that. Oh, this is going on very nicely on top of this brown. I'm very pleased. Okay, and that's in the way. So I played Armadi, and I think there was a game called Armadi 2 or Advanced Armadi or something like that, but I realized I didn't really like Armadi's second version. I liked the first version. And okay. Well, this last figure on this stick has no color on it. And I don't want to do a boulder top and bottom on the same figure. So I'm going to break my rules and give him a red tunic. I want a lot of red if you haven't figured it out. Red was going to be my final color, or it is right now. It is the final color because I don't consider the boulder to be a color. I consider it to be more like an undyed fabric, a linen. It's not. It's kind of a gray color, but that's okay. Yep, that's going to work great for Germans. Yeah, and then I played Armadi for quite a long time. But again, when Armadi 2 came out, it lost something. I almost felt betrayed. I know I'm being hyperbolic, but I felt betrayed, and I lost interest in Armadi almost instantly when Armadi 2 came out. And I pretty much stopped playing Ancients for a while. I was still really big into Napoleonics and World War II. And then I discovered Field of Glory. Being an Osprey game, I was very pleased with the art in the books, the diagrams, the simplicity of the rules. I couldn't really grasp some of the concepts. To be honest, I never really got into Field of Glory, but publicly, or I should say like openly, I did. I really dove into Field of Glory. Okay, there are two figures here that don't have any color on them, so those are the two that I'm going to put the red on. Red pants on this guy, and red tunic on that guy. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about it. Now, the reason why I'm jumping around instead of just grabbing one stick and painting like everything on one stick red and then moving on to the next stick and painting everything green, or the next stick everything gray or whatever, and then randomizing it that way, is because the sticks, when I put the figures on the sticks, I put them in units and poses. I broke all the poses down, and then I took all the different poses and evenly distributed them amongst all the units that I was going to be doing. And then when I put them on the sticks, since I went through all that trouble of separating them, I went ahead and put them on their stick based on what unit they were in. So that would help randomize the colors. Okay. I was like, everybody's got a color except this guy's pants. Okay. Yep. Except for this stick, which is basically leftovers. So it's true for everything else, except for this stick I'm working with. Even though these aren't like extra, they actually go in the units. It's just the units aren't easily divisible by 8. Okay. Because a tribal flexible with 6 bases, and that's what I'm shooting for, has 21 figures in it. Because you got 8, I'm sorry, you have 4 on the front rank bases. There's 3 of them. And then you've got 3 on the second rank figures, which there's 3 of those. What does that come out to? 8, 8, and 8. That's not 8, 8, and 8. 4, 4, and 4. That's 12. So you got 12 figures in the front, and then 3, 3, and 3, which is only 9 figures in the second rank, for a total of 21 figures in a 6 base flexible unit. Now they could have 4 or 6 base units, but when I put the Roman army together based on that scenario that I was talking about, the Age of Caesar, it came to somewhere around 11,000 points. So I said, okay, let's try to get something close to 11,000 with the Germans. So I had to max out all the units, and it still only got to about 8,000. Yeah, so I'm going to have to reevaluate how I'm doing those scenarios. And Meg has a rule about camps, right? You got fortified camps or flexible camps or even wheeled camps or something called foraging camps, which means you don't really have a camp on the table because your troops are living off the land. And that's a standard uh, concept from pretty much every game. Armadi, Field of Glory, WRG, they all pretty much have the same idea of putting a camp on the table. And in these scenarios, one of the scenarios has, remember, this is Hail Caesar, right? So they don't really focus on camps. And it's a different scale. They're cohorts and not legions and all that. But they have a fortified camp. I think it's the first mission. And it's 12 inches by 12 inches. It's a pretty big thing. And you could put like 3 cohorts in it. Or maybe 2 cohorts, two units in it or something like that. I don't remember. And in Meg, you have a camp. Which one do I want to do? Okay, they're the same. The camp is much smaller. It's like 3 base widths across by 2, lengthwise by 2 base widths. So they make it in kind of a rectangle. Yeah, let's do that guy. No, let's do this guy. So, I'm going to rethink the scenario using the fortified camp on the Roman side, placing it on the table where the scenario says you're supposed to place it, and then put the units around it and stuff like that. And basically, one of the 3 legions was defending the camp, and the other 2 legions enter the table from a board edge. All of that is doable in Meg. It's just the scale of the units are going to have to be adjusted. And in Hail Caesar, you can actually put your units in the camp, and it acts as a fort, like a fortification for the unit. I don't know if Meg has something like that, or I haven't got that far in the rules. And I found I do business with a company called Boetta. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's an Italian company. They also have ancients, 15 millimeters. But they have a Roman fort in there as well. I was thinking I'd get it. But when I was playing Hail Caesar, I scratch built the fort. I built it out of styrofoam, popsicle sticks, that kind of stuff, balsa wood. And it looked really good. It just occupied too much space on the table. Like I said, 28 millimeter, just too big. But I could probably build a little fort on one of those camp bases. Actually, I'm sure I could. Okay, I'm going to give this guy red Under Armour. But before I get to those rules, before I start making a fort, I'm going to double check the rules about Roman marching forts. You know, I don't want to do something that's not allowed or is not, there's like no rules for it or whatever. I mean, I can make something up. I could do that, but I don't want to do that. And not if they've already got it. If they've already got the rules for it, then I'll just use their rules. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. I'll do this guy in red as well, too. Now, I normally only stream for about 2 hours. Um, and that won't be any different today. Once I hit the 2 hour point, we'll be breaking it up. Um, I saw a guy selling the Meg Compendium box set, which I'm not sure what it retails for anymore because I bought it a year ago or 2 years ago or whenever I bought it. But he was selling it for $75. I think that's high. I think it was like $30 or $40. But if it is out of print, which possibly is the case, I can see where he's trying to exploit supply and demand. We're not done with red. I just want to shake it up. But ethically, I think it's good to make a profit. I get you. And if it's not being made anymore, it's a collector's item at that point. So get what you can. I just personally wouldn't mark it up that much. It almost seems, what's the word? Not proprietary. It almost predatory. Predatory. Okay. I don't think I'm going to have these guys done by the end of the video. Mainly because there's just so many of them. It's a beautiful day outside today. And that's one reason why she's out there with her yard sale. But it's not just beautiful, it's also hot. It's hot. What do you expect in the middle of July? Oh, let me tell you. Okay, I started this conversation. I started telling you about my Wargames Atlantic order that I got coming in, and then I got distracted. I went off on a tangent. I ordered this order back in April. I got half of the order in. My rep at the time, who no longer works there, split the order in half so that I could get the items that were in stock. That seems reasonable. I agree with that. And he said, next month, those out of stock items will be back in, and then we'll send it out to you. So I think, okay, that's pretty good. Let's do that. So May rolls around. I don't get it. I send him an email. What's going on with my order? He said it comes in the middle of June. And then we'll be putting in all the orders from all of our different customers, and we'll be sending it out to you. So what I hear is, you're not a priority. We'll send it out when we get to it. But I'm okay with that because I am a pretty small business. And so he goes, back up. So June rolls around. I haven't received it. What's going on? Oh, we hadn't even gotten the order in yet. It doesn't come in until mid-July. Or is it mid-June? Mid-June. And I'm like, oh, okay, mid-June, no problem. I can wait another month. The end of June comes around because I figured if they get it in mid-June, it does take a couple of weeks for them to box it up and get it to me. So I waited till July. I hadn't gotten it. So I send an email. I haven't gotten it. And then I get a reply from a different rep. And he says, I'm your new rep. The other guy is no longer your rep. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? He's like, I checked on your order. We're still waiting on a couple of items that have been back ordered. But what I'll do is I'll just delete those items that were back ordered, and everything else that we have in stock, we'll just ship it out. And I was like, all right, that sounds good. So apparently, this is what I gathered from that email, that An item was out of stock. It was the German Sentries and the British SAS. Those two boxes were out of stock. So I had to wait. And then when those two items came in stock, two other items were out of stock. So now, instead of okay, how does this work? Okay, well, I'm just going to paint it. Yeah, this guy's got multiple layers. Okay, so instead of taking a box and putting everything that's in stock in this box, and then when the Sentries and the SAS came in, they could just throw it in that box that they already had reserved for me and then ship out everything. Instead of doing that, they waited to box everything until everything was in stock at the same time. There's a problem with that, right? Obviously, you can see, you follow my pain. And apparently my new rep also follows my pain. He said, that's an idiot's way of doing it. He goes, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take everything we have in stock and just ship it. And then instead of you waiting for these other items, we'll just delete it. And then if you want them, you can always reorder them or whatever. And then he credited me the difference, which you would expect him to do, right? Okay, is that guy wearing armor or not? It's kind of hard to tell. Looks like a shirt. I'm going to paint his pants. I can always get back to his shirt later. It's really not hard to tell once I realized what he was supposed to look like. I was like, oh, okay, that's the top, that's the bottom. So they shipped that out last week. The tracking number, it's FedEx. The tracking number said it was going to be here yesterday. I received nothing yesterday. So when I went to check it again today, it said it was going to be here today by the end of business. Basically an updated tracking, like they couldn't make it here. Now I want to say something that might offend, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because it's not derogatory. It's not meant to be derogatory or anything like that. I have a customer who had me paint some miniatures for him. And he's a good customer. I've painted a number of lots for him, like 3 or 4 lots of figures. And he has something going on that he doesn't want. He wants to keep his painting or his hobby expenses, let's say. He wants to keep his hobby expenses private. So what he does is he mails me money orders. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to accept any more money orders going forward. In the past, his money orders have all been good. You know, I've been taking them to the bank and everything's great. But just recently, with this latest order, the tracking number from when he shipped it to me says it was delivered. And I have looked everywhere. I always check the mail daily. And if my wife checks the mail and there's something with my name on it, I always get it. There's never been any problems. So this is a post office problem, obviously. He shipped it, got a tracking number. The tracking number said it was delivered. I have not seen it anywhere. I don't like the fact that a customer of mine, he hasn't said this, but I can imagine what he's feeling right now. He paid for this commission in his own mind. He shipped it. The post office says it was delivered. And I, some guy, saying that it wasn't. I can only imagine what he's thinking. And I'm only thinking negative thoughts. And I don't want any of my customers to be put in this situation. I personally don't want to be put in this situation. Every one of my other customers use PayPal or a credit card, because I can send you an invoice that you can pay with a credit card. And then we would have a paper trail, right? We would have documented proof, either PayPal paid or didn't pay. You'd have a credit card statement that said this is when it was deposited into his account, or whatever. So FYI, going forward, I'm not taking any payment via check of any kind. Got to be electronic. Mainly to protect both parties. He asked me if he could send another commission my way. But he asked that when he thought that I had received the payment. And I said, yes, of course. But that was before I realized his payment had never arrived. I know. Drama, right? Not really. I mean, he seems to be very level-headed and everything, so we'll see how this. Plus, he's got insurance because he's Senate priority. So now I did get a letter, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that, which somebody sent me something. I'm trying to remember. I think it was miniatures. It might have been paint or something. But somebody sent me something, and I personally was like excited to get it, to receive it, and I was always checking the tracking number on their website, like, okay, I'm going to get it today, like I did with the War Games Atlantic. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it today. I'm excited. We're going to unbox it, and everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be hunky dory, right? So I followed it, and then one day when I checked it, it said delivered, and I was like, oh, they delivered it. Let me go out and see. There was no box anywhere. Not on my delivery. I've got a location where boxes are delivered, and there was no boxes there. I said to myself, missing. So I contacted the company that sold it to me. Don't remember who it was, but they said that sometimes you just have to wait and it'll show up. And I was like, that sounds like a BS response. So I waited. 2 days later, my box showed up. It just showed up out of the blue. And I was like, what the hell? And I found that I discovered, because I did a little research on that box, apparently they ship it via, they have a partnership with another company like like UPS or FedEx or DHL or something like that. It comes across as a USPS tracking number, but they're not the actual person carrying it. And then it gets delivered to the post office. In this one case, this is what happened. It was delivered to the post office for later delivery to me, and the post office, or I should, the tracking number listed it as having been delivered. Well, it was delivered to the post office, but not to me. And I wonder if something like that had happened with this. Like the tracking numbers, but in this case, and the same thing, it said delivered to Clarksville. That's where I'm at, FYI. If you want to dox me. Yeah, delivered to Clarksville. And, but that means to me, and it says mailbox. I think that's kind of a default response. I don't know how this customer is going to resolve this issue. I've considered just sending him his product and saying, no more checks. You know, I'll eat it. But I don't think I should have to. Because I don't know for a fact that he shipped me anything. I know he did. I mean, he's an upstanding guy. I've done multiple commissions for him, so this is just a one-off. Something happened. And I've been waiting for 2 months, a month and a half, to get payment. And if he's not able to go electronic from forward from here, then we're probably gonna have to stop doing business. Oh, thank you.
Oops. Hopefully it's not.
That's plastic. Looks like my Wargaming Atlantic order just got here. My wife just threw it on the floor. She normally doesn't carry anything in here unless it is super light. And I'm sure once she threw it, she was like, what the hell? Yeah, these generals and musicians and cavalry, I'm going to have to go back over with some other colors. I can already see that. Because I don't want to overwhelm them with too much red. What do we got? We got 12:45. Okay. Got about 15 more minutes. I don't know if you guys watch these videos, but every Sunday I will record a video called Store News and talk about what figures I've worked on, what figures I've finished, and what product I've got in. So that's going to be on that video. As well as maybe some Old Glory, depending on, because that came FedEx. So I've got a couple of other orders. Like I said, the Blue Moon, I don't expect them anytime soon because I just ordered those. But I have an Old Glory order out. And I ordered that before their website went down, which today is when the website's supposed to come back up. I don't know if it is up. Now, I know I'm focusing on Meg quite a bit. My eyes are, I'm gonna have to take a short break because my eyes. Meg is right here. Okay, hold on. I'm really focusing pretty heavy on Meg, right? I'm putting a lot of energy into this. Okay, so they have something called barricades. Okay, barricades represent troops behind permanent walling, fencing that has been constructed prior to battle. Okay, barricades should be represented by thin bases in front of the troops and measurements from the troop. Okay, so if I want to use the barricades rule, I could make Roman forts. I can make Roman forts and just call it a barricade. Okay. But I'd have to make it. And then there's something called stakes, but that's more for English longbowmen. Pavis. Shield wall expendable. Shove, shatter, devastating charge, combat shy.
Sun's not out, but it's humid.
Yeah? The sun's not out?
No.
Oh, okay. I figured it would be. Okay, that's competitions. Sieges. Okay, sieges are best resolved using the fast result generator. UGs defending fortifications can have their bases spread out along the walls, and each base controls a perimeter. A fortified BUA. What's a BUA? Built up area? That's probably what it means. Okay, a fortified BUA should have a road system of 2 base widths wide around its perimeter, just inside the walls. It should also have a central square that's at least 4 base widths wide. These areas are good going. All other areas in the town are rough. Okay, so they've got some rules for either barricades or fortified BUAs. Camp. Okay, that was what I was trying to get to. Camp in combat. Camp types, camps and their depictions. See, that camp looks like a fort. A 15mm fortified camp. These cannot be attacked by enemy mounted troops and are one hard to sack even with good infantry. Okay. But yeah, that looks like the Boeta. That actually looks like the Boeta camp. Kill a base. Nope. Let's go to camps. Because I'm actually kind of curious about that. A mobile camp. That looks like it's got camels on it. Camps have to be touching the rear, but that's not if I'm doing a scenario. Camps in combat. A fortified camp can be attacked by infantry elements. Other camps are attacked by enemy, including camps never pursue. Of course not, right? When fighting, a camp is treated as a tug. It claims the benefits of barricades. It can fight once with each of its frontages, treating its perimeter as its front. Losing your camp. Rule 1. Don't. A broken camp. In addition, broken camp. Another 5. Okay. Okay, so it's treated like barricades. If you want to have a fortified camp. And I think that's how I would represent the marching fort, is basically just making a fortified camp. I'm going to look at what barricades actually does. Permanent walling. Tugs so equipped with must be deployed immediately after the camp is placed. Tugs deploying them must cover their entire frontage. Barricades should be considered by thin bases in front. Tugs may leave barricades by moving through them. It is representing dismantling gaps and opening gates. Barricades stay on the table, and if undefended, can be crossed by infantry. If abandoned, they be redefended. Okay, SUGs, and therefore artillery behind barricades attacked frontally do not have to run away. Skirmishers can't be pushed back. Okay, there's something called obstacles, and it kind of has it's talking about ditches, ramps, in contrast with barricades. Tugs deployed, fronted, stay on the table if abandoned. Give obstacles, give barricade combat claims, but provide no cover from shooting. Okay, so it's not an obstacle, it's a barricade. Yeah, so I think I could build like a very small fort, 2 base widths wide on a side. So it would be like 80. Well, it'd have to be a little bit larger if I'm trying to put units inside of it. So 80 by 80 would be how big the barricade would be. I would need to make it a little bit more. Give it, man, I'm yawning. Give it a little bit extra room so that you can put units on the inside. But I'm in no rush to do that right now. I'm trying to get these Germans done. And then I've got some Russians that really need work. It's also time for lunch. It's like 1 o'clock, right? It's 5 till. What else do I want to talk about? Okay, we got the Meg boot camp going. We've got Old Glory Order, Blue Moon Order. I have a Little Big Men order also. Little Big Men are the ones that make decals. Just like these guys right here. These are Romans. And it does say Republican Roman. And the mid-Republicans and the late Republicans use the oval shield, so they can be used on either one. But I also have some Gaelic, Celtic, or Celtic decals, shield decals. But I don't have 200 of them, that's for sure. Am I going to be able to do 200 shield? Nah, I don't even need to. I'll do maybe the front rank with some shield, or maybe the cab, or the front rank, or the nobles. I'll probably do the nobles, because there's the javelin men. We're not going to do them. I'm just going to paint their shields manually by hand. I'm going to paint almost all of these by hand. But some of them will be decals. And so I'll have to try to figure out what that's going to be. Did you see the mailman go by?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
We have a new mail person. I haven't seen that woman in a while.
Oh, really? Because I'm missing a letter. Yeah, there's one of my customers has sent me a tracking number, and it said it was delivered, but I haven't seen it.
The package?
It's an envelope, a letter.
Oh.
It's a money order.
Delivered to this address?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We haven't seen it, so. Checking my store, and I don't have anything that goes out today, so that's good.
I don't know why I took my flip-flops off. I have a new mail person, so for now.
They're right. Okay, so no new orders that need to go out this morning, so all the orders have already boxed up and shipped. Yeah, the little big man order should be more Celtic shield designs, but I think I also plugged in some. I know that I did 100 Years War banners. And I already have 100 Years War shield designs that go, Knights of the Round Table. No, they're knights that go on, knightly designs. Most of them I think are just random, but some of them are probably official. Carthaginians. I ordered some Carthaginian decals, and Macedonian maybe. I don't really need Macedonian. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But yeah, so I got a little big man order in. That's shipped a couple of days ago, so I'll probably get that in a week. Nothing else really stands out. I got all the boxes in, got all my paint in. I don't really have any push for that. Oh, yes. Okay. I have some bases coming in from Old Glory. Old Glory has well, first of all, they had a sale called Christmas in July or something like that. And I took advantage of that sale to order these one-off things that I mentioned, like a bag of this, a bag of that. Well, one of the bags I ordered was 20 by 40 bases. I have a feeling they're going to come in and they're going to be Wargame accessories. Because Wargame accessories, you can buy their bases through Old Glory. They're metal. They're like sheet metal, cut to size. And for one thing, they're not always correct. I don't like them. There's a couple of reasons why I love them, and there's a couple of and a couple of reasons why I don't like them. I have a mixed feelings about Wargames accessories metal bases. One reason why I love them is that they're metal, right? They are sturdy. They're rock hard. They're steel. They're galvanized, I think, steel, and you can't go wrong with that. If you put a sheet of magnet, like you can get like a 8.5 by 11 sheet magnet sheet. You can put it on the inside of one of your trays that you got over there, and then you can put your figures in there. Boom, they'll stick on that magnet, not move around or shuffle. You won't get any damage and movement. Love that. What another thing I love about them, okay, because I was going to say this originally, but another thing I love about them is they're super thin. They're wafer thin. They're so thin that when you put them on the table and they disappear. Basically, they are the same height as, they're thinner than this popsicle stick, right? They are thinner than a sheet of paper. I mean, they are super thin. They're sturdy, they're rigid, they don't bend or anything, but they're thin. I love that. So that when you put your flock and your texturing and stuff like that on the base with your figures, they're as low to the ground as possible. Now, on the flip side of that, a thing I hate about them, they're too thin. I know I love that, but I also hate it. I hate it more than I love it. So if there was a balance of love-hate based on the thinness, the hate would tip the scale. Because there's a couple of reasons why I hate the thinness. And I didn't realize this until I started using them. When you put them together and you put them on the table, they look great. But when you start actually moving them on the table and using them, something comes to light. If I'm playing like a World War II game, and I used a lot of these bases for a game called Spearhead, and these bases move around independently, and that's fine, and it works great, and they look good. But when you try to put those bases in a formed unit, that's when they lose their appeal, because the two bases are so thin that they overlap. You can't just slide a unit across the table, because the bases they don't grip onto each other. One goes above the other. If you flock them with any kind of sturdy grit flock, because it's so low, it actually catches on the tablecloth, depending on the type of tablecloth you use. Because they have sharp corners, they're perfectly cut at a 90-degree angle. They painful to pick up, for one thing, because they're like a knife sticking into your, like a shuriken sticking into your thumb or whatever. And when you try to slide them across the table, they stick into the fabric, sometimes cutting it. They're like little blades, little razor blades. Individual units where I'm grabbing the like a World War II squad, like Flames of War or something like that, they work perfect. They're perfect for that. Anti-tank guns, put it under a tank, you're picking the tank up and moving it, and it's got a little base on it. All of that works great. But when you put them in a unit together, like Napoleonics or American War of Independence, mainly I learned this with my Napoleon's battles, or now with Ancients, because I did like 100 Years War English army using metal bases. They look great, and the metal weighs the bottom of the base, so it becomes less top heavy. And when I switched to Litco wood bases, I didn't encounter any of those problems, but I lost the fact that they're metal, so they don't stick onto magnets. I would have to actually attach some of the Litco magnet material underneath it, and it tips over. The 15 millimeter ones do. Another thing that don't like about them, they're heavy. If you get an entire army with these metal bases, it has some weight to it, like 5 pounds. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, but if I'm going to a convention and I'm taking my Romans, my mid Romans, my late Romans, my Carthaginians, my Macedonians, my 100 Years War English and French and Burgundians and Swiss, it's really the only ones that I'm really working on. My Germans. So if I bring those, now you're looking at like 40 pounds, 50 pounds worth of just bases, not even counting the pewter metal miniatures. So, yeah, so they're heavy. Price-wise, they are priced well. You get like 30 for $4. I think that's pretty good. Litco, I'm getting 30 for about $10. So it's like twice as much, but half the weight. It doesn't stick to the ground. I can put unit blocks together. We can move them around. So for mass combat, I would go with Litco, and don't go with the 0.8 millimeter. It's too thin. The 3 millimeter works okay for like 28 millimeter models. They're perfect. But when you start talking about 15s, I use the mid-range scale. 1.5 millimeter, 1.6. That's what I plan to use. So guess what? I ordered some Litco bases. Those should be coming in soon too. So Litco 20 by 40s. I ordered a few other scales too, but really 20 by 40 to make sure I have enough for all the armies I'm doing. But that Old Glory order had a Christmas in July, and they had a special on bulk bases. It said bulk bases. There's only like 2 sizes or 3 sizes that part of the bulk bases, and one of them was 40 by 20. So I said, you know what? I'm going to order it. It comes with 100 bases for like $10 or something. So it's a little bit cheaper. but I wonder if all it is those bags of bases just thrown in a box. Like I ordered bulk this. That just means they're going to give me 4 of those bags. Probably. And if that's the case, I'm just going to turn it around and sell them on the website because I don't want the metal bases. They're beautiful bases. They're excellent bases. There's nothing wrong with them. I just won't need them. And I weigh the pros and cons of the Litco versus the metal, and I think I like Litco better. They're not magnetized. I can't like put them in a case and have magnets hold everything down unless I put magnets on the bottom of my Litco bases, which I can do because I have a ton of those magnets. But I'm not in an urge to do that. If I was still using 15 millimeter depth, I might need to do that. But now that I'm kind of switching to a 20 millimeter depth, that's the width of one of these popsicle sticks. That's 20 millimeters. So those aren't going to tip over anytime soon. I ordered a lot. I ordered a lot of these 40 by 20s. I ordered some 40 by 40s, which I don't need because I have like 100, maybe 200 3 millimeter ones. That's the thick ones, but I'm not. That's for like bolt action, not bolt action. That's for like Hail Caesar and black powder. I don't want to use a 3 millimeter for my elephants or my chariots or my ballista. I think those are too tall. Generals probably okay because it'll make them stand out, but I'm not. I'm gonna use the 1.5. That's what I ordered. So basically, I'm gonna have a. Now my camps, those are all 3 millimeter because I ordered them a long time ago, and they're 3 millimeter. They're nice and thick and sturdy. If I ordered a big camp like that with the thin stuff, it might be a little flimsy. So probably not. But the point I'm trying to get at is, I went around in a million circles. I ordered some Rubicon round bases, and looking at them in the package, they look beautiful. I need to open them up, do a what's in the bag, and kind of use them on some of these World War II figures just to see how they work, how they look. But they're double lipped, so they're lipped on. So you got your base, and then you've got a lip, and it's lipped on the bottom and the top. So you can flip your base over and use the side you want to use. And that lip would let you put your basing terrain, your basing material inside the lip. But that underside base will actually help with gripping on a table. But I can't really tell until I use them. But I'm going to sell them. I just want to do a what's in the bag first before I sell them. And I have a bunch of bases from Wargames accessories, the metal ones, that I bought 10 years ago. Yeah, 10 years ago when I was doing British Grenadier, which is an American War of Independence game. They're 40 by 60. I think I've got some 30 by 60s. I might hold on to the 30 by 60s because that's what Meg uses for their 28 millimeters. And I've been thinking about taking some of the Hail Caesar Warlord Games models and basing them up for a 28 millimeter meg. Someone might appreciate that. And I think 28 millimeter meg would be good to use if I'm only doing like a little Pacto demo. I think it would be good for demoing meg using the bigger, more eye-catching figures. Bubble mailers. Okay. We'll talk about that on the what I got in. I did get some bubble mailers in, and I'm actually disappointed with them. I got a bunch of boxes in, but we don't really need to talk about that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that really stands out. I did finish those sticks. That's good. And I've been thinking about making a ancient village, a built up area. I'll have to look at the rules to see exactly how big it's supposed to be. 10 base width is what I think it's supposed to be. And 10 base widths, it's that big. I don't know, you can't see my finger. Okay, so if I went from there, it would be to there. That's a big built up area. That's, I don't know how many, that's over 12 inches. So maybe it's supposed to be 8 base widths. Okay, what is 8 base widths? That's this big. $42 centimeters. Is my math right? 8 times 4. No, that's only 32, right? Yeah, 32. So 30. Yeah. So I start at 10, go to 42. That's 32. And that's if it is 8 base widths. I could make a little village in there. That would be pretty cool. And make it in 15 millimeter. Make like a little Roman villa, or I could make Celtic round huts or something. That I would really dig making that. All right, that's where we're going to end it today. It's 1:20. I gave my eyes a break, so now I'm going to jump in, finish painting this red. Once I get this red painted, I'm going to put the boulder on every piece of clothing that I missed, or that I've avoided. So like shirts and pants. And then from there, I can start working on details like belts and sheaths, weapons, hair, mustaches, beards, etc. But I just wanted to get all the clothes. Oh yeah, I still have to do boots. None of them are really wearing, per se, boots. They look like foot wrappings with ankle or calf wrapped. So, and then I have to look up the armored Gauls and see what kind of shin guards they wore, because I want to make sure I paint those the proper color. And I'm going to use oily steel because I think that's a good color for armor, but we'll see. Instead of plate mail just seems like it's too bright. Even though it's probably right. It's just, now I've got something else that's called like chainmail silver, but that's frickin', that's more like silk. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Okay, so we got plate mail, chainmail, and oily. Okay, see, plate mail is just way too... Okay, that's not too bad. I can probably dig some chainmail. Chainmail for their chainmail. But I was thinking it would be kind of a dark and dingy, rusty... Well, that's gonna my wash is going to bring that down anyway, so maybe I don't use oily steel. Maybe I use a chainmail silver. Even though it's called silver, it should just be called chainmail. All right, guys. I'll catch you on the flip side. Oh, go for it. Hey, go for it. You're just saying hello. Appreciate you. You got here right at the end. From 11 to 1. I know it's a little bit after 1, but I'm going to continue working on these Germans for a couple more hours probably. And then I'm going to take a break from them and go back to the Russians that I've got a commission. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. If you so you're my newest sub. Thanks. If you have any requests, don't hesitate. Drop it into either an email or a comment. Either way, I'll see it because I try to read all the comments at least once a month. Like I'll at the end of the month or whatever, I'll go through all the comments that I might have missed just to make sure I haven't, ignored someone. But I try to hit them right as they come in, but sometimes I miss them. So at the end of the month, what I'll do is I scrub my comments. I go through and make sure I hit them all. But you can also just drop me a direct message if you have any requests. And what I mean by that is if you're interested in a certain type of figure or a certain type of painting technique, or you're thinking of purchasing a certain type of miniature and you want me to do a review of that miniature or anything, drop me a suggestion. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but at least I can put it on my calendar as first of all, if I have the miniature already on the shelf, no problem. I'll guarantee 100% do it. But if you ask me to get some pike and shot miniatures, I'm not buying any pike and shot miniatures. So I won't be doing any open box reviews. But if you say, hey, I checked out or I'm thinking about getting some Blue Moon Napoleonics or Blue Moon American War of Independence or something, and that's something that I might consider getting for myself or the store, then I might say, okay, let me put that on my next order. And so it might be a couple months or whatever. Oh, brand new. I can't leave without telling you this. News. Brand new. News. Victrix. I don't know if any of you guys are excited about Victrix or love their models. I personally love Victrix models. They are a little bit sizable. They've got a little bit of meat on them, which I love when it comes to miniatures. They have really good details, like a leather strap sticks out super far so that you can easily paint it. The fabric on their cloth or whatever have some serious folds, so you can easily make their models stand out and look really good. Okay, having said that, I don't normally order Victrix because I have a large selection of Victrix right now, but I normally don't order them because their minimum order is so large. For a partner / retailer like myself, the Victrix orders had to be like over $1,000. I mean, even more, maybe $1,200, because they had a huge amount for shipping. Well, when you order $1,000 worth of miniatures, shipping is going to be a lot. Okay, so I get that. But they've eliminated minimum orders. They've decided they have a 0 minimum for partners. That's excellent. So if I need to order one bag, I can just get on there and order one bag. I am digging it. I love that. So now I can go through my Victrix and see what holes I have and reorder just that and not have to wait 6 months till I build up $1,000 order. Okay, that's it. I'm out. You guys all have a great rest of your day. Don't get heat exhaustion or heat stroke out there because it's really humid and hot here in Tennessee, apparently.